In terms of things that are downright American, barbecues, processed cheese, musical theater, loud noises, and strongly held uninformed opinions, I'd say pie ranks near the top of that list. Sure, American pie has its roots in many different cultures, for example, Egypt, Greece, the British Isles, but there's something distinctly American about that sweet filling and iconic appearance. There's even an American Pie Council located right here in Illinois that is, and I quote, promoting America's pie heritage and preserving America's love affair with pies. So what could us Midwesterners, guilty as we are of destroying salads, dinners, cholesterol levels, what could we have done to ruin the simple pie? It's a dish we've actually perfected. It's a dish that solidifies our place in the American cuisine. Apple, blueberry, sugar cream, chicken pot. What could we have done to warrant my skeptical gaze? We went and grabbed the vinegar. Vinegar pie is an old recipe by American standards, and it probably dates back to the pioneers who, I guess, really wanted pie. The most notable mention of vinegar pie comes to us from none other than the iconic Midwesterner herself, Laura Ingalls Wilder. Now, I grew up with a lot of Laura Ingalls Wilder because my mother is, to put it mildly, a big fan. Big fan. Oh, who am I kidding? I am too. I have the whole collection. This was given to me by my grandmother, and this is my great-great-grandmother's sunbonnet. The recipe I'm going to use today is an amalgam of a few vinegar pie recipes. I'm using one that my mom sent me that was adapted from Laura Ingalls Wilder's actual recipe. And then I found a couple others from old vintage cookbooks and things like that. So this is sort of a quick and scary tour of this thing that is vinegar pie. This is a traditional Midwestern recipe. It was probably developed from a chess pie or a buttermilk pie, which also sounds really gross. It's sometimes referred to as poor man's lemon meringue pie. I call it crazy man's lemon meringue pie because how could you possibly want lemon meringue pie so badly you would resort to this? This recipe is part of the family of desperation pies, or make-do pies as they're sometimes referred to. That includes things like mincemeat, green tomato pie, flapper, shoe fly pie, the ever-tempting funeral pie, mock apple, which is made out of a combination of Ritz crackers and witchcraft. I don't know. There's also mock mincemeat, which kind of jumps the shark in my opinion, raisin pie, and cat food. I made up that last one, but what the hell's the difference? Still, I'm just saying that rather than resorting to one of these monstrosities, can't you just temporarily accept that you're out of pie? Have a cookie, go to the store, abstain. I'm just saying that the pioneers, for all their purported determination and sacrifice, seem a little reluctant to give up their dessert to an absurd degree, which probably has implications that go far beyond the scope of this episode. Okay, first things first, the crust. Now, if I was really going for purely authentic, I would make a crust from scratch. But I do not have time for that today. I'm on a bit of a schedule, so I did store-bought crust. So I have a couple right here. Next, eggs. I'm making 2 pies, so I'm going to need 8 eggs at room temperature, which I have right here. Next up, 2 cups light brown sugar, which I have right here. Now here's one of the variations in many of the recipes, and that is the different sugars. A lot of the recipes that are tied back to pioneer times will call for white sugar, and that's actually probably not particularly accurate. They probably used either maple syrup, a maple sugar, brown sugar, something with molasses. White sugar would have been pretty expensive. 1 teaspoon kosher salt, 1.5 sticks of butter, and we will melt these. And 4 tablespoons apple cider vinegar. Now, I have thoughts on this. When I was growing up, my mom made a pan sauce for ham that had apple cider vinegar and raisins, and I hated it. It used to stink up the whole house. It smelled like feet and raisins. She was using the regular old version of apple cider vinegar, which I think is stinkier. This is unfiltered and it's got the mother. I find it to be milder and I'm hoping it won't stink up my house. That's it for ingredients. It really is a very simple pie and I think it's going to be somewhat easy to make. There's also many recipes that call for blends of spices, nutmeg, clove, cinnamon, or vanilla extract. That would sort of take it in the direction of, say, a sugar cream pie or something like that. I did actually consider doing that, and then I thought, you know, let's be a bit of a purist here. I really want to taste this thing for what it is. So I'm going with a more simple, basic vinegar pie recipe. First things first, we need to par bake the crust. So I'm preheating my oven to 350. In the meantime, I'm going to get the crusts ready to go. Okay, so I'm just unrolling this first pie crust. Now don't throw the excess pie crust away because you can make earrings and Christmas ornaments. Now, fancy pie bakers or frequent pie bakers often own something called pie weights. I don't actually make pies very often, so I'm going to use good old beans. This step, for those of you not in the baking know, is called blind baking. Okay, 15 minutes. In the meantime, let's put together this filling. First, I'm going to melt the butter. Next, we whisk together the eggs, salt, and sugar. Now, I understand that desperation pies are a thing, but I still have to wonder how this thing even came to be. I mean, was it just a question of, make do, get by, use what you have? Or was it maybe grabbing the vinegar instead of the lemon juice? I get it. I once made fried apples with garlic powder because I thought I grabbed the ginger, but I didn't have the audacity to pass the recipe around. Or maybe it was a case of having the wrong ingredients accidentally and you have a mild freak out. I know how it goes. You tell them you're bringing pie, you get home, you don't have the ingredients for pie like you thought you did, so your husband says, hey, why don't you make cake instead? And you say, no, I said I was bringing pie. I think that's it. I think that this pie might be the antidote to chronic Midwestern accountability syndrome. Trademark me. I'm having some unforeseen difficulty with the hunk of maybe a little old light brown sugar. Oh, this might be dark brown sugar. That's okay. I actually expected this part to not be particularly offensive, but I have to tell you, this is some rough stuff. This is essentially a custard, and I actually am a little surprised that I don't have to cook it ahead of time. I think that's probably because I chose the baked version instead of the chilling version, but still, I almost want to cook it. I'm going to take a pause from making the filling to pull the pie crusts out of the oven. Okay, the crusts have been baking for 15 minutes. I'm going to pull the parchment and beans out. These are still pretty pale. That's totally fine. I'm actually going to bake them again, but first I need to cover them with an egg wash and then poke some holes. I'll tell you this, the pioneers might not have had lemons, but they sure as hell had eggs. This recipe doesn't actually cover egg washing, but if you've never made an egg wash before and for some godforsaken reason you're making this recipe, it's really easy. You just whisk together an egg with a little bit of water to make it a little more runny so you can brush it over a pastry. Now I'm just going to poke a few holes in the bottom to let steam out and hopefully it won't bubble up. Now they go back in the oven for about another 15 minutes. Back to the filling, let's whisk in the butter. Hi, Boo. You need to shush. You gotta shh. I know, you're not sanitary. I can't hold you all day. I have to make a video. Just get into the gross part. Okay, here comes the vinegar. 4 tablespoons. I hate how vinegar smells. I honestly can't decide if I think this is a lot or not that much. How vinegary is it supposed to taste? Well, it smells like vinegar. What is this? You know, no, this is not any of the theories I have already purported. Do you know what this is? This is humble Midwestern bullshit. This is the pie equivalent of us thinking we're a little too big for our britches. Apple pie is good. Too good, in fact. We were in danger of getting too full of ourselves, so we had to culinarily knock it down a peg. That blueberry pie certainly thinks highly of himself. That blueberry pie really likes to hear himself talk. Look at the blueberry pie using big words and correct grammar. Of course, if that blueberry pie played, say, I don't know, football or basketball, I bet nobody would say a word if he dared to have the audacity to express some well-earned self-confidence. Excuse me. Filling's done. Okay, I pulled the crusts out of the oven. They are more brown, but not as brown as I expected, so that's great. I am going to pour the filling in. While I was waiting on the crusts to come out of the oven, I poured the filling into a spouted container, which I think will make it easier to put this into the shells. And it's not grossing me out totally. Oh, that still really smells like vinegar. The filling's gonna look a little low in these shells, but this is a lot of eggs, and that means they're really gonna puff up, because that's just science. Well, whatever the reason or cause, the result is this: vinegar pie, which sounds at best like a minor and vaguely filthy insult, or at worst, a punishment. We'll see. But this is going to go into the oven for 35 minutes at 350. Now, we wait. Then Almanzo drew a long breath and he ate pie. When he began to eat pie, he wished he had eaten nothing else. Sure. He ate a piece of pumpkin pie and a piece of custard pie, and he almost ate a piece of vinegar pie. But he didn't. Okay, here they are right out of the oven. They don't not smell like vinegar. I'm going to let them cool, and then I'm going to wrap them up, and I'm actually going to take them to a very special group of people who are going to help me eat this. Okay, so I'm in the car. I'm ready to take these pies to the cast of Firebrand Theatre's 9 to 5, the musical. I am in that show. And I know everybody's very excited about this. They know I'm bringing them something. They don't know what. But here's the thing. I did try the pie, and I spit it out. It is very gross. It tastes like vinegar, so all those folks who said, you know, no, it's really more like a lemon meringue or like an apple or something. Okay, but that went bad. Like, it's no good. The eggs, they almost separated in a way. I feel bad. These are not great. I'm gonna bring them anyway. The point of this show is to sort of try things out as they are and to experience them in the moment, right? I guess. So those are my preliminary thoughts. So here we go. This is vinegar pie, Michael.
Vinegar pie. Here we are.
My brave
Lord save
friend.
me.
We're all.
This is terrifying. Ooh.
Really?
No
Yeah.
way.
Oh, I did not like.
I like it. I like it. It reminds me of kombucha in a weird way.
Yeah, it does have a kombucha flavor.
Kombucha
And you know
pie.
what?
Kombucha pie?
Michael
Okay.
Turrentine approved.
Yeah, if you
Vinegar pie.
vinegar pie.
Oh,
no.
never
I'll put your names in text.
Okay.
JC does not like.
No!
Hey y'all, back here once again with a piece of something and I don't quite know what it is. Bon appetit, whatever. You ever saw how bad this was?
Oh, great, good.
It's not pleasant.
You.
I'm familiar with the apple cider vinegar. Thanks, Mom. The texture is rather revolting.
I know, and that could be my fault.
Vinegar.
Yeah.
I'm gonna do it after
So that
her.
sounds so southern.
It's actually it's Midwestern. This is a pioneer pie, but it's one of the Desperation pies. It's a lot like shoe fly pie or buttermilk pie.
I love
Something like
shoe
that.
fly pie.
Yeah, I'm not saying it tastes like it.
I just liked what I made.
I don't dislike it.
Okay, I'm like
Alright.
not as scared now.
Oh, well, I kind of think of it as like cheesy.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Like
Oh yeah.
cheesecakey.
It is a little
Everyone's-
cheesecakey.
It's gonna be. Cheers. Oh, Betsy, why?
Michael.
Oh, but Tyler's.
I liked it, Mike.
It's fine.
I'm confused.
Oh, this is a love it or hate it. I think. Yeah. Well, love is powerful.
Yeah, that's good.
I get the kombucha thing.
I don't. It doesn't even taste vinegar to me.
Oh, I taste the vinegar.
It's not supposed to, which is weird, but
I don't
Tyler,
like the
Symone approved.
texture.
the texture may be my fault.
The texture is
Wait.
always better.
I'm gonna do it like a pizza. You want it?
I'm gonna do it like a pizza.
You don't want to take a bite of this? But it's not like great.
It's definitely not great. Hi, lovely idiots.
Hi, you want to try a piece of
Royen,
pie?
want to try vinegar pie?
But it has to be on its own.
Whose pie is it?
It's mine.
Wait, save the chocolate for after. You might need that.
Oh. Oh.
Yeah.
Ah. Am I allowed to know what kind of pie it is?
Yeah, it's called vinegar pie.
Oh, okay.
And it's a desperation
This is
pie.
real bad. I don't want to take another bite.
Yeah, it's from like it's from Pioneer days.
This is bad. Apple cider vinegar. Okay.
Why would you do this? Oh God.
Bitter pie.
Veronica, this is what's called a desperation pie.
Oh, that was my nickname in high school. So Betsy said I had to eat this and we weren't friends, which I thought was not a nice thing to say.
I know. It's all.
You know, it's not bad.
And now Velveeta Kelly.
The texture is what's killing it.
That sounds like a driving.
The texture is like a possum brain. It's not good. Put this in my reel.
Well, that was vinegar pie. I have to say, after examining several recipes and my own cooking skills, I'd have to recommend not doing the baked method and rather using the cooktop custard method and chilling overnight. I'm not saying it will be good, I just suspect that at least the texture will be better. In fact, in the words of shesfolks member Ted, you might like it, you might hate it, but you're not gonna love it. Have you ever had vinegar pie? Please let us know in the comments. We'd love to hear your experiences. Also, liking, sharing, and subscribing to our channel helps us reach as many people as possible. Thanks for watching, and see you next time.